welcome back. When we want the inside scoop on the latest developments in the Middle East, we turn to our good friend Avi Melamed. Avi is one of the world's top experts on the region and author of the great book Inside the Middle East. He joined us at TBN's Jerusalem studio recently to share some very interesting developments in the region and in particular to Israel's south with Hamas and ISIS. Take a look. Well, Avi, thanks for joining us again here today on The Watchman.
Thank you, Erick, for having me. It's always wonderful to see you.
Shifting alliances here in the Middle East right now, especially with the ascension of President Trump. You have the Saudis, Egypt, Jordan, the Sunni Arab states, the Gulf states. Their interests seem to line up with Israel's today. Some unlikely alliances shaping. Talk a bit about the shifting winds here in the Middle East.
What you see today is the unprecedented configuration where, for the first time ever, the state of Israel and the major Arab players in the region share a long-term strategic interest. This is one of the major components of the change of these shifting alliances, as you accurately defined it. And the other factor, which plays an enormously significant factor in that context, is, of course, the new administration. Trump administration stands for a new chapter in the policy of the United States in the Middle East, and that has a lot of ramifications.
Well, I think about Iran and ISIS. First off the bat, Avi, obviously a common enemy for Israel and the Sunni Arab and Gulf states. Talk about Iran's calculus right now. They know there's a new sheriff in town with President Trump. Do they try and push the envelope even further, or do they pull back in their regional ambitions?
The Mullah regime is very sophisticated. They're always playing with different cards in their possession, and they always test the water, sort of speaking. So recently they have sent out a couple of messages, mostly talking about some new military weapons they have in their possessions. One can question that or not. They are talking about their military might and other things as well. They are sending out signals, basically trying to see how to navigate the way more sophisticatedly with the Trump administration, because the Iranian understands that the honeymoon they enjoyed during the time of Obama came to an end.
You can hear some of the sounds of Jerusalem behind us. There's some school kids down below here outside our TBN studio. Avi, taking it to the south of Israel a bit, you gave us a great overview of what's going on in the region. What's the situation right now in Gaza? We're hearing a lot about Syria, obviously, but Hamas is steadily rearming in Gaza as well, right? It's stocking up, I'm sure, on rockets, missiles, digging more tunnels potentially. What's the situation in Gaza right now and the threat level there?
The essence is that Hamas today is struggling with lots of inner challenges in Gaza Strip, stemming from the fact that he controls Gaza Strip, and yet there is a lot of discontent and disappointment among people of Gaza Strip. On an external level, Hamas must be tuned to Egypt, he must be tuned to Qatar, he must be tuned to Saudi Arabia, he must be tuned to Turkey. The overall atmosphere Hamas is maneuvering through is very challenging as Hamas is concerned, because basically, as of today, its maneuvering capacity is quite limited.
It sounds like they have a lot of pressure from what you're describing.
There are thousands of people in Gaza Strip that, as of now, still have not gained back their apartment that has been demolished during the last military round of Hamas against Israel.
That was almost 3 years ago.
Yeah, and that puts a lot of pressure on Hamas. There is a challenge in the context of electricity, for example, in the Gaza Strip, that puts another pressure on Hamas, huge rates of unemployment. We have to remember, Hamas controls Gaza Strip, practically speaking, on the ground. For Hamas, failing to deliver, in the end of the day, the people of Gaza Strip with the things they need is a failure that could jeopardize Hamas ideologically and politically.
Very interesting, Avi. Last question. Take it a little bit south of Gaza and Hamastan to Sinai. There have been reports that Hamas has actually been working with some ISIS elements in Sinai. That's an unholy alliance. What can you tell us about that and the situation in Sinai, also at Israel's doorstep?
You know, Hamas-ISIS relation is a very good example of the complexity of the Middle East. Yeah. While Hamas is cooperating to a certain extent with ISIS in Sinai, including, by the way, providing ISIS militants with some support, inside the Gaza Strip, Hamas is brutally oppressing the Salafi jihadist groups that are associated with ISIS.
Wow.
Because as far as Hamas is concerned, this is a source of a threat. So Hamas is conducting this dancing on both weddings, as we said, speaking on both sides of its mouth. By the way, that cost Hamas dearly in the context of the relationship with Egypt. And that's the reason why Hamas and Egypt in the last couple of months are experiencing a kind of rapprochement. Because of the Egyptian pressure, Hamas handed over some Salafi jihadist activists to Egypt.
Avi, it's a complex place, a complex region, but you make it very easy to understand, my friend. Thanks so much for joining us today. We'll do it again soon, here in the land of Israel. Thank you, my friend. Always a pleasure, Avi. Folks, remember to visit Amazon.com and order Avi's excellent book, Inside the Middle East. It's a must-read to understand a very complicated region. Well, coming up, one man escapes the hell of Darfur and lands in Israel. Find out what happened next after the break. It's The Watchman. It's Christians United for Israel, only right here on TBN.